Hi everyone, my name's Simon and welcome to the Crypto Rat channel. And today we're going to look at part 2 of the crypto tracker and exit strategy sheet. So you should have already seen part 1 on Paula's channel over at the Excel Club. If you haven't, before watching this video, if you take a look down in the description, I'll actually add the link to her video there. So the reason we came up with this sheet, there were two things really. Paula had come up with a sheet tracking crypto. I'd started looking at an exit strategy sheet. So we combined the two, and the idea is that you can manage your portfolio, but also it will give you an opportunity to look a bit more in depth at the gains that you've got and laddering out of the crypto market, because until you actually take profits on your crypto, all those profits are paper profits. So it's only when you actually cash out into fiat or stable coins that you've actually secured that profit that you've made on your tokens, and that's why it's important to really think about it. The second thing is, when you're doing an exit strategy, the last thing you want to be doing is trading emotionally and panicking when the market's hit a parabolic high. Anyone that's been through that before will know that it's very difficult to firstly potentially sell your cryptos, but secondly costs and everything else change quite a lot when that happens, and you might find it takes a lot of time for an order to be fulfilled. When you're in a parabolic market, that's the last thing you want. So hopefully with the aid of this spreadsheet, you'll be able to be a bit more well informed and actually plan what you'd like to do to exit the market at certain price points. So just to start with them, we're on the home page here. So we'll just go back to the instructions, and you would have already completed the disclaimer, so I won't go over that. And Paul has already talked through a number of things, including how you interact with the dashboard and making sure you're entering the data and the transactions correctly. The areas that I'll cover off today is looking at the exit strategy sheet. We've also got a couple of separate calculators, one to work out the gains you get if one of your cryptos 10x's, for example, and also a very straightforward sheet looking at yield farming and what types of returns, if you're staking or yield farming, you're likely to get. So we'll click on my little friend the cat here, and we'll go straight into the exit strategy sheet. Now the exit strategy sheet should already have some data in if you followed Paula's tutorial. What you'll have on the left hand side is aggregated all of your holdings, and it will work out your average price paid per coin. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So we had a total of 36,000. Now I've tweaked my sheet slightly from the figures Paula had just to illustrate the exit. What you've got on here is one purchase of Bitcoin at 0.5 Bitcoin for $12,000, which is an average of 24,000 per coin. The second purchase was 0.5 at 24,000, or 48,000 per coin in total. I'll delete these because these aren't relevant at the moment. And if we go back to the exit strategy sheet, you'll see that when you total those two up, that comes to 36,000. Now what we're going to work through on here, normally you would have a list of all of your cryptocurrencies down the side. And what we do normally is we'd highlight all of those, right click, copy them, and then you could right click, paste special, and or paste values, and that would just paste all the values down there to save you writing them out manually. So as Paula would have said in the previous video, the main thing you need to ensure with this is you don't overwrite any of the formulas in the cells. So you'll see, if you look up here, all of them have got formulas in. In order to make the sheet work correctly, unfortunately we couldn't protect each of the cells. So what we've done instead is we've highlighted in orange all of the cells that you will need to complete. If it's not orange, you won't need to complete it. So start off with them. We'll enter Bitcoin as our first ticker, and what that will do is it will actually update the Bitcoin price on there. And when you move across, you'll see certain figures being entered. Now they'll all link in, but before I do go into that, we just go back to the dashboard, and if you look in the top right, you can see we've got 4 actions. And those 4 actions are to add the tokens we've got to the exit strategy sheet, because we've not done that yet. Now each time you do data and refresh, the sheet's smart enough to look at all of those actions, and it'll actually update what actions are outstanding. So as we go through, it's really important that at regular points, as you're updating this or each time you open it and change anything, do data refresh. Two things it will do. Firstly, it will refresh the price points, and secondly, it will look at any actions and it will use the Power Queries to work out what it is you need to do and update the charts. So as we move through here, there's a couple of bits of data we'll enter. So I'll put in sale point of 39,500. So we've purchased the Bitcoin at 36,000 as an average. So our first sale point might be, we want to take profit when it hits 39,500. And the profit we take, and again you can amend this depending on your strategy, is in this case we'll take 10% of our holding, and that's what we'll sell in order to take profits and secure them. So just to start off with, you've got 1 Bitcoin there. 10% of your 1 Bitcoin is 0.1 Bitcoin sold, and that will leave you with 0.9 Bitcoin over and a profit of $350. Now you might look at that and think, well, okay, if I'm selling 0.1 Bitcoin for 39,500 price point, that's not going to equal that figure. Well, the good thing about the sheet is it'll actually work out how much you've purchased on average for, and then it will work out how much you've sold for and deduct the overall costing. So this price figure we're looking at isn't the profit you'd get for just selling. This is the profit you get for selling, taking into account what you've bought for. And we'll see that in just a second. So what you do with that, once you've completed that, you've opened the sheet, you've spotted you've hit your price point because Bitcoin's gone up to 41,634, and you then go and enter that transaction to show that you're selling your Bitcoin. So we'll add that in here. So selling date of today, the token is Bitcoin. Now the sell point isn't the price you sell it at, that is which price point you've triggered. So this is price point 1 in this case, and what it's saying is you'll be selling 0.1 of your Bitcoin, and the total income you get from selling that, in this case, if we're selling it at 13,500, would be $3,950. And then what that will work out, if we scroll across a little bit, you can see there the price per coin is 13,500. The cost of it in total is 3,600. So our overall profit, which is the cost plus the profit there for the income, is $350 we've made from that transaction. So if I go back across, and what we will do is go back to our exit strategy, and we can update selling point 2. Now before we do that, if we go back to the dashboard and we do data and refresh all, what that will do is that will update the figures on here. As you can see, the breakdown of held versus sold and what percentages in exit strategy. It will update all of the figures, and it will also tell you if there are any further actions to take. Now the next point we've got is take profit on selling point 2. So selling point 2, if we have that in there, is 4,500. So scroll across a little bit, and you can see that's now asking for 20% to be sold, which is 0.18. And that's 20%, as we said earlier, of what tokens you've got over, not your initial holding. So 0.18 is 20% of the 0.9 that you hold, and if you sell that many, you would then have 0.72 tokens over of Bitcoin, and your profit would be $810 on that. Now the other thing to note is you will see at the top here there are figures set up. This will actually be when you've got all of your crypto layered down here on the side. This will actually give you the total if you hit all of your profit price points. So it just gives you an idea, if you do hit those price points, what will you actually be taking as a profit out overall. And if you think back to the dashboard sheet that Paula showed you and look up at the top of that, there are 2 sheets showing what you're cashing out as part of that. So you can do that all the way along this sheet, but we're just going to do price point 2 for now, and we'll go in, enter the transaction, and we'll say today's date, The coin we're doing is Bitcoin, and we've actually hit token sale point 2. And the total income we've had from that, if my maths is right, is 7290. Yep, so 40,500. And you can see there the corresponding figures. That was the cost of us purchasing, and that is the overall profit we've taken out from that second sale point. And as I said, you'd update those details on here as well. So if we go back to the exit strategy, you can see on there all the way along you could add those. So you could put selling point 3 in as 60,000, which we've not triggered yet. Selling point 4, 70,000, and we'll put 80,000 just for ease of explanation. So you can see as that goes along, it does different percentages we're taking out of our previous coins, and it'll update the profit that we're taking from each profit point as well. Now, scrolling along, the one thing you'll notice about this end section, so this part here is the fifth profit, take profit section, and then you've got an overall take profit. So just to explain this, the last profit point we've taken was 50% of our previous, I'll move across a little bit, our previous over tokens, which is 0.351. Half of that is 0.1755, and that will leave us with 0.1755 because we've taken half of it. That's our profit we've made from it. Now you can change this. If you wanted to get rid of all of your cryptocurrency, you can change that to 100%, and you can do that at any of the price points if you decide you want 3 points for your selling strategy rather than 5. And what that will do is that will say, okay, this is the last point, tokens are 80,000, we've achieved that, sell the lot, and that will leave you nothing over, and give you a total profit of 27,350 over and above what you've purchased for. Now, for the purpose of this, we will go to 50% because in a lot of cases, people may not want to exit the market completely, and certainly for my strategy, I want to get to a certain point, but I don't want to fully exit the market, because there is a potential. If you think back to when Bitcoin was in its infancy, and Bitcoin was $1, for example, there were people that were taking profits when Bitcoin hit $10, thinking, I've made a fantastic 10x, superb, I'm happy with that, I'll take my profit. So if you'd have sold at $10 a Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin back then, you've made fantastic, you've got $100 at a cost of only $10, so you've made $90. Until you look at Bitcoin's price today, which you probably feel quite sick about. So just remember that when you're buying pizza, just have that in mind. So overall, as I said, I would want to keep some after my exit strategy, just on the basis that I've made a decent profit amount I'm happy with. Anything else that happens after that, if it goes up, amazing, I'll make more profit. If it drops down and goes to zero, I've not lost anything, so I've already taken my profit points I was happy with. So that's how that sheet works. So if we go right the way back to the start, you can see all of that's in here, and all you would do is you'd replicate that with all the other coins that you've got as you go down the sheet. And as you do that, as I said, don't forget to enter the corresponding transaction, and don't forget to go to data and refresh all. And what you'll see as well is if the price has, so it changed slightly then by about $10, so you can see there's an update on that. Now if we go back to the action sheet, you can see that because we've surpassed one price target and our third price target, if we move across a little bit, we've not hit yet. So you can see selling point 2, we've already exceeded that. Selling point 3, we've not hit. So what it will say when you go to the action sheet is it'll actually tell you you're waiting on a price target for Bitcoin. So all the way down the sheet, it will show that if you've not hit your price targets, but you have got the targets in there. So the other thing to point out with that is all of this will, as I said, all of this will reflect on the dashboard. And as you got shown in the first video, you can look at specific tickers and see how much you've paid overall, what you've taken out of it, and so on. And it will leave you with all of these figures updated. And the three actions are the three red ones, which we've just looked at. So, going back, that is the exit strategy. There was one other thing actually that I wanted to point out with that. You'll notice the figures that I'm using are slightly different. Now, one of the things that I'd suggest with this, and it's probably a wise idea, is you can actually set some of your sale points on an exchange as a limit order. So if you've got something like Binance as an example, you can't do it on things like Coinbase. It will be some of the more advanced exchanges, but you can actually set to say, if you've got some of your capital on there, you can say, okay, so I've got one Bitcoin on Binance, for example. You can actually set a limit order to say, once it hits 39,500, I want you to sell that Bitcoin at that price, or that 0.1 Bitcoin at that price. And that will automatically do it. Now, the reason that's important is that when that price gets hit, you may be asleep. Because as you probably gathered, crypto never sleeps. Unfortunately, as humans, we do. And a lot of price action happens at different points of the day. So if you're familiar with times for the Middle East exchanges opening, the United States exchanges opening, and being in the UK, for my situation, I'd probably be looking at around between 7 and 8 in the morning is when a lot of the price action happens, when people wake up. So anyway, if that was the case and you put it on the exchange to sell at that point, that's already locked in. As soon as it hits that price point, that hopefully will sell. Now, the reason I say hopefully, and the reason my figures are slightly different here, is humans like to think in round numbers. So a lot of the time, what people would say is, okay, bought my Bitcoin for 20,000 or whatever it might be, or I'd be happy when it doubles and hits 40,000. So what you'll find is people might have already put limit orders in on the exchange, a number of them for 40,000, and certainly institutions that use bots and so on might have set price points at that. Now, the danger with that is if a huge swathe of sell orders comes in at 40,000, yours will go in as part of that in the queue. And as you know, when you're buying and selling Bitcoin, there are two sides to that transaction. There's the purchaser and there's the seller. If the seller's selling, but they haven't got enough purchasers there, it won't sell and the price will end up going down. So in this situation, rather than put 40,000, which is normally what you might think, what I'd suggest doing instead of that is start to use numbers that aren't your bog standard type of numbers. So a lot of people who put 40,000, you might put 39,785 just as an example. So the likelihood is, if it does hit 40,000, which is your price point, fantastic. But actually, rather than risk the order not being fulfilled, because there's a lot in the order book at that amount, if you set it slightly lower than that, you're not guaranteeing, but you're more or less getting ahead of the pack who have all set their orders at 40,000. So it's just a slight strategy there, but when you're thinking in Bitcoin, don't think of round numbers or any of the cryptos. Try and think of something, even if it might be 39,975 or something like that if you're looking at 40,000, just so you're not sat in that one price point. Okay, so that is the exit sheet. What we'll look at now is just a couple of extra tools that might be helpful for you. So we'll go back to our little friend the cat, and if you look on the sheet in the bottom right, you've got calculators. There's two sheets we've created for this. As I said, they're only to give you a guide, so please don't take these figures as exact, because they are just to give you approximate figures for what you'll make. So if we go to the second one, which is working out if your coin does a certain multiple, what we've got on here is your total purchase price and a number of multipliers. So if I take Bitcoin and I say overall, when I bought my Bitcoin, the total purchase price for that was 35,000. So I've got a holding of 35,000 Bitcoin. If that price point that I've got that at 2x's, it will be worth 70,000. If it 50x's, it will be worth 1.75 million. 100x, obviously, yeah, you can see those figures on there. And you've also got a sheet, the yellow sheet here, that shows you any random figure. So you might put in, well, oh, what if it's 12x's? Well, that will give you the figure for that. The other thing you can do, if you're not specific to a coin, you might want to see your entire portfolio, or you might want to see a specific coin. If you've invested, say, if you take Matic as an example, Matic, in actual fact, Matic started at the start of the year at about I think it was $0.02, so 2 cents. And if you look at the price of it as of today's date, it's just around $1.10. So if you had, say, 5,000 invested, and that coin, just for argument's sake, 105x'd, then out of that 5,000 investment, you'd have 525,000. And this is particularly interesting if you're looking at speculative punts with some lower market cap coins. So you might find a coin that you invest 500 in, and actually, if that does a multiple of 105, you'd end up with 52,000. And if you think back to things like Dogecoin, with the early investors in Dogecoin when it was less than a cent, that sort of thing has happened. A lot rarer now, but it's just something if you do want to have a play around with the figures. So that's that sheet. And the second calculator, which hopefully will be quite useful, is staking or yield farming. Now, as I said, this is very approximate, so please don't take these figures as exact. But what we'll do is we'll actually pick one that's on here, Terra Luna. So you've got two on here that say Terra Luna. Just so you're aware, the UST one is the dollar pegged Terra Luna token. So that would be pegged to around $1, and you can actually stake that on something like Anchor Protocol and get around a 20% APR, APY on that. So we'll ignore that for now. We'll just go for Terra Luna. So this is the Luna token, just to give you an example. Now, everything that's orange is what we need to complete. So we've said we want to stake Terra Luna in the Station wallet. So if you're familiar with it, they have a wallet called Station that you can stake in. And we've got 349 tokens that we want to stake for 30 days. The current token price is approximately $35. So at the time of staking, that will be around 12,215 that you're staking. The APR on that, we've assumed 30%. I mean, that it could be different, but just for the purpose of this. And what you'll see below that is that works out approximately 0.08% per day. Now, as you go down the sheet, you've got three sections. You've got the token yield, which is how many tokens will you gain per day, weekly or annually. So you can see if you hold it in there for a year, that will be 104 additional Terra Luna tokens you get. The dollars is what that would be worth as a yield if you were cashing that out immediately. We're not for the purpose of this, but what value that token would be. So you can see on there, your 0.29 would be worth $2.99, and the same weekly. And then annually, if you're getting that many tokens, that's what it would be worth. Now, the final bit at the bottom is based on your farming days. So we said 30 days. Now, if we change that to 60 days, you can see on there those figures have changed because we've said we're going to stake it for, well, double the period we were with the previous one. And that just gives you an approximate figure. If you do stake it, the APR doesn't change, and it assumes the token price is the same, then that's what it will be worth in dollars, that's what it will be worth in tokens. The token's not really affected, the token numbers isn't really affected by the token price because you would gain that number of tokens, whatever. And that's worth bearing in mind because you do get price fluctuations. So if prices go down, you're still accumulating those tokens. If the price then goes up, you still have the same number of tokens, but the value would be more. So hopefully that's useful. So all in all, that is everything that is covered on the sheet. Hopefully it's been useful, and hopefully it set you up for your exit strategy, so you're going into it a little bit more forewarned. What I would say is spend the time actually working through this sheet, put some dummy data in just to play around with it, and just make sure that when you're starting to look at your exit price points that you are thinking you're thinking logically without any emotion attached to it. What would I like to take as profit? And one suggestion that I would really make is, once you've sold a token, don't think about the fact of what you sold it for, because it could go up 100x, it could drop down to 0. So if you set that price point, you set it for a reason, you've taken your profits and you've actually locked in that profit, and that's probably the most important thing. So that is everything. So I hope this explanation's been useful, and I hope the walkthrough has helped you work out your exit strategy and how to track your crypto. Paula's video, as I said, use that alongside this one just to get an overall feel for what your crypto portfolio looks like. And we'd very much appreciate it if for both videos, if you would click a like. If you've got any thoughts or suggestions or anything you liked or disliked about the tracker, please add it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And that's for both the Excel Club and the Crypto Rat channel. And we'd also appreciate if you did like it, if you click subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. And we do videos from time to time. My channel tends to focus on things like coin market cap quiz answers, general knowledge about crypto, that type of thing. So slightly different. Paula's Excel Club is obviously heavily focused on Excel, and I highly recommend that you spend a bit of time looking at it if you are into Excel. The final thing really is we do also run a crypto and blockchain meetup group. It's called the Global Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Meetup, and it's using the Meetup app, or if you go to the Meetups website. Again, we'll stick links in the below, but it'd be great if you came along and joined. It's got a mixture of people from right at the beginning, or people who haven't even invested in crypto, right the way through to people that are competent traders and experts. We like to cater for all levels. We look at NFTs, we look at tokens, projects, games, all those type of things. It'd be lovely to have you along to have a chat. So that is it for now. Thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you.